Defender 90/50th then. Seen them many times before. This one's come in for a bit more work than normal. Actually, it's travelled a very long way. Japan, fresh import. We shipped out a load of engine parts to a guy a couple of years back. He hasn't got around to fitting them. He's moved back to the UK and he's shipped his Defender over here. So it's freshly arrived.
Is that a new record for distance?
Sorry?
So is that a new record for distance?
I think it could be actually, yeah. So under the bonnet, I reckon this is probably one of the cleanest Defender 90s we've had in the hair ever, being a fresh Japanese import. Lovely blue plug leads. Yeah, at least they're the right colour, I guess.
Doesn't make much difference to the spark though.
No, let's see what name they have on them. So they are Ultra, definitely worth getting that in the name.
Start.
BP, blue paint. Silicon power plug wire.
That certainly is a lot of words.
Yeah. So anyway, this has come in for us to fit all of the engine parts we sent over to Japan. It's already got fitted the unlocked and mapped Tornado ECU. And in the back of the car we have got stage 3 cylinder heads, a Piper 270 camshaft, and all the relevant parts for fitting. So new oil pump gears, new push rods, shim kit, new rocker shafts, etc., and all the gaskets. Still a 4 litre and it's staying 4 litre obviously. So basically that leaves us to go for a little pre-road test, make sure we're happy with everything before we start work on it, and hunt in the boot for some Magnacore plug leads, I reckon. Right, out for a pre-test drive in the 90 then. Well, that does what it's meant to do. We'll turn around and go back, shall we?
Yeah, that's fine.
Got to remember our speedo is in kilometres, not miles an hour. So the engine's cold at the moment. We need to get it up to temperature so we can make sure it's happy when it's warm, but I like to test drive them cold as well. Get an overall picture. So obviously with work planned, we should see a significant increase in the overall performance of the engine, probably most noticeable in the mid-rev range with the cam choice and the heads. And it's been a long waited work, so I'm sure it will be well worth the wait for the customer. Yeah, so we're up to temperature now as well. Engine's driving really nicely, nice and smooth. Throttle response is nice and progressive. Kick down on the gearbox is working as it should. And the car is driving incredibly well. No knocks or bangs. There's a bump there in the road, Steve.
There is.
So yeah, it's all checking out lovely, as we thought she probably would. Ready for the RPI goodness to happen. Ah, there you go, there's a fault. Temperature gauge is just pinged up.
Let's check that out.
Yeah. Okay, so yeah, as you just saw, the temperature gauge did ping over. We've just opened the bonnet and checked her over. We think we have got a very small leak, but nothing to concern ourselves with. At the moment, I'm believing we've got a faulty gauge or sender. As a precaution, we've rolled the windows down, the heater is on full whack, and we're monitoring the temperature by hand. The biggest thing we're actually monitoring for is a lack of temperature. Obviously, if we lose coolant, or if we get an airlock in the system, i.e. the coolant isn't flowing around, the heater matrix will go cold, and we'll know that by the back of our palms, etc. So the engine's still responding well. I've got no pinking going on. So again, if the engine's getting abnormally warm, normally you get a little bit of pinking coming into play. So at the moment we do, and this is why we do a pre-road test, we know we've got another fault going on here, which is temperature related or not so, and actually a bad gauge or sender or bad wiring. or such like.
But all stuff you want to know before you start pulling it to bits.
Oh, exactly, yeah. If you pull this to bits and then put it back together, this is a fault that you wonder whether you caused or, yeah, were unaware of at the beginning of the job. So we'll get back to the workshop and we'll inform the customer when we give them a call this afternoon. And there we go, we're not quite back at the workshop yet, and the gauge has actually come back in line. It's just over halfway, but quite literally it just pinged down back into position. So that does say to me we have an electrical fault somewhere rather than an actual coolant fault, because or cooling fault rather than coolant fault. Because for a gauge to move that quickly, well, obviously they shouldn't. So yeah, excellent, add it to the list. Right, so Steve has got stuck well into the engine. Everything's stripped down, the original camshaft is removed, the original cylinder heads are removed. The engine is a lovely colour inside, so that was really, really good to see. Condition of the components actually was really good, with exception of a couple of lifters that are starting to show signs of wear. You can see this one, it's got a certain ring on it, a dimple in the middle. You got that?
Yep.
And then this one again has got a nice ring around it. So the camshaft itself actually to the naked eye looks really good. However, this is indicative of wear beginning, and the ideal time to catch it obviously before that swarf goes around the engine and the condition worsens. Once it starts to wear, the wear will happen far faster, obviously. So we're going Piper 270 camshaft and the stage 3 cylinder heads after this has all been cleaned down. Right, so with the Defender 90 complete, we'll show you under the bonnet when we get back to the workshop. Out driving in it, you've already noticed the pickup from the passenger seat, so it must be good.
Have, yeah.
Yeah, so really nice difference in the mid-rev range, which is what we're sort of expecting. Obviously the engine will pull around, you know, 5,500 RPM or more if you want, but there's little gains to that in a Defender. But the cylinder head's certainly going to have the airflow for it there, but your driving style in this type of car just doesn't put you there. Oh, Steve, you know how I said I want to go down roads I've not been down before?
You're going to choose that one, aren't you?
The smaller the better. Although it's probably going to be quite bumpy for your camera. Oh, that's a short-lived road. It stops here, look.
Good job.
Oh, I don't like that. I want to go right now. Oh, steering lock on these isn't very good, is it? We got this. We got this. I bet that's not green lane down there, but...
No, probably not.
Down there, point your camera. No, you've missed it, down there.
Well, we saw it out the front,
Oh, did
then
you?
you turned.
And then I turned.
Then we couldn't see it anymore.
Right, so if we go left here, we should be back where we started, on the same direction.
I'm going to say yes.
Yeah, just say yes, it keeps me happy. What was I talking about? Stage 3 heads. Yeah, so obviously mid-range power is really nice in these because it gives you that ability to just gently accelerate without having to apply too much throttle pedal when you're cruising. Say at 40 you need to increase to 50, 55. You're in that mid-rev range, the torque converter is going to slip a little because we're on an auto box, and it's just going to have that extra poke just there. I was at 40, 45-ish, and it's just going to pull us up nicely, smoothly, but more enthusiastically than it did with standard heads and a standard cam. Obviously this car drove very well in the very beginning of this video because it was already chipped. The customer had done that, and I have an admission here. I made a big mistake, well, a geographical mistake in the video at the beginning.
Uh-oh.
Although there's a technicality which means I can get out of it. This car did not come to us from Japan. It came to us from Hong Kong, which is over a bit. So, however, the car did originate in Japan, so I'm grasping onto that little bit of hope there. So yeah, the customer had put the chips in when him and the car were in Hong Kong, and it was driving very nicely beforehand, but now definitely has that just more responsiveness, eagerness. Just when you're at that mid-rev range on your cruise, you just tickle the throttle a little bit, and it's there, just pulling a lot stronger than it was before. Obviously, we've done quite a lot of these with 4.6s in, and that equally gives a huge bottom end torque increase. So that's another option that a lot of customers go down for these. And in fact, you know, what we've done on this engine would transfer over to a 4.6 short engine, no problem, then you'd had the best of all the worlds. So, are you lost yet? Because I've got no idea where I am now.
Well, you know, all roads lead to somewhere.
And all you've got to do is go there and back.
Exactly.
Right, so we'll head back to the workshop and show you under the bonnet. The only thing is, we've got to find the workshop. Brandiston.
The workshop is where we left it.
That sounds local. This looks local. Yeah. So we'll be back with you when we find the workshop. Okay, so not a huge difference under here, other than obviously we've cleaned things up, made it look a little bit more tidy. As we said out on the road, the biggest changes are all internal, you know, cylinder heads, camshaft, etc. Obviously we've replaced the leads with a set of Magna-Core plug leads. Yeah. Do you know the biggest difference?
Go on.
It wasn't raining when we had the bonnet open this time.
Wasn't.
And for that reason, and we've done everything in this video we need to, I'm concluding it.
Okay, good. We'll see you next time.
So, I'd said we concluded this. What have you pulled me out here for now?
You were wrong again, weren't you?
Again, what about? It's definitely got 4 wheels.
Well,
Sorry, 5.
It didn't originate in Japan, did it?
Okay.
Where did it originate, Ian?
I guess technically it originated here in the UK.
Correct.
Yeah, and then it was exported to Japan
Correct.
as a Japanese model.
Would you like to
And then
apologise
it
to all the
moved.
people you misled?
Then it moved to Hong Kong, and then it moved to here, back again, to its home country. Is that better?
It'll do.
You finished telling me off now?
For now.
Okay, I'll go and do something else wrong then.